You're listening to the IO Soapbox with Aiken. I'm an IO psychologist, which of course means no one knows what I do. Now on this show, we are going to talk about IO psychology. I'm hoping that some of you not in IO will want to join us, and those of you in IO will be inspired to break new ground. Now, let's get me a cup of coffee, because I'm tired, and then it's time for me to rant about random things on my soapbox.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about whether you might want to get a master's in IO psychology, a PhD, or just enter the workplace and do some IO work. Well, let's say that you've decided that you want a PhD. The first thing you're going to want to decide is whether you want to do a practice-oriented PhD or a research-oriented PhD. Once you've made that critical decision, you are going to want to decide now what you need to do to construct your story, your narrative, and get yourself into the PhD program that you want to get into. So that's what we're going to talk about today. You can join me in the courtyard and we'll talk about getting into the PhD program of your dreams.
You were saying about the GRE, how I needed a GRE score. So what would that be about?
Right. So the next thing that you're going to want to do, so you've gotten your research experience, you've made sure that you're attending to your GPA. And we talked about that a little bit the last time. Okay. On the master's episode, we talked a little bit about the importance of making sure you monitor your GPA and where you can take the courses that are going to help you keep your GPA up. Even though that's a really shitty thing to have to say to anybody. Then you want to make sure you get your GRE scores up, and we're going to table that conversation because I got a lot to say about the GRE, and we don't really need to get that kind of energy going right now.
Please.
All right, so we will have that conversation. That will be a very long, angry conversation. But yeah, you have to do the GRE for a lot of PhD programs. They still require it, even though. Okay, I'm going to boom. Okay, all right. I feel some type of way. All right, moving on. Research, GPA, GRE, going to help you get to a PhD program, but that's not the end of it. You also have to think about the narrative that you are telling. One of the things to remember is anytime you're applying for these degree granting programs, you are basically telling your story to a committee or an individual who is going to decide whether they want you to work with them or not. PhD programs are intimate. It's one-on-one. You have an advisor. That person chooses you. So it's the first thing to know. The person who is choosing you is a person and not a program. For most PhD programs, you're not going to say, hey, I want to apply to the University of Maryland Social Decision and Organizational Sciences PhD program. You're not going to say that. You're going to say, I want to work with Dr. Jen Wessel, and here's why, right? Because the person that's choosing you is a human being, and they want to choose someone who is going to, A, help them in their research and help advance their research, and B, who they can nurture and grow and help develop into a high quality researcher. And that's going to be someone that they are, that they can assist in their area of expertise. So, for those PhD programs that you're thinking about, and by the way, aim for 7 to 9 different PhD programs. 3 reach programs, 3 that you feel competitive for, and 3 that you're positive that you're going to get into. Gives you a range. For each of those programs, identify a faculty member or 2 that you really want to work with there. When you're identifying that faculty member, go both based on your interests as well as when they last accepted students. If you talk to a faculty member who accepted students in the last year, they may not have an opening. Faculty members don't typically take students every year, maybe every other year or every third year. So look for a faculty member who is active in research and hasn't taken a student in a year or 2. They're going to be looking for somebody. That's a great place to be competitive. Also, when you are applying to faculty members, link your interests and your experiences to their interests. Demonstrate how what you do and have done links to what they're interested in. The other thing you really want to do, let me tell you something. You're applying to a PhD program and you're saying what you want to do in the future. Do you know what you want to do in the future?
Well, yeah, I have an idea.
What you want to do, what you want to do in the future is you want to become a researcher.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go into academia.
Yeah.
You want to be a faculty member.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to do. Okay, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I see what you're saying.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. So many PhD programs, and it's helpful to look at where people go once they graduate. So again, look at the alumni list, where they're working, are they in faculty positions, are they applied? But most PhD programs are designed to train academic researchers. Now, there are tons of IO psychologists who are in the applied sector and have PhDs, and they do get prepared for that work as well. But a lot of times you are looking at faculty. I mean, like, think about it. When you're picking a mentee, when you're choosing someone to mentor,
Yeah.
you like what you do. You're training them to do the things that you do. So you're really looking for somebody that you can train to be in these academic research-oriented positions. So it's very important that you kind of show why research is your passion. Because a lot of PhD is doing research. It requires a lot of self-discipline, a lot of self-structuring. It's not about the coursework, it is all about the research.
Yeah.
So making it clear that you are excited about, enthusiastic about, and all about the research is really going to help you when you're applying to these PhD programs. So a part of it is developing the experiences that you need, and a part of it is constructing the narrative that shows why you're a good fit, not only for a PhD, not only for that program, but for that faculty member as well. So there's a lot of strategy involved. One of the things that you're going to want to do is also stay close with us, like your faculty mentors here, because of course we know people across the United States who take PhD students. So we can help advise you when applying not only to them, but we can talk to them as you get out there as well. So that's leveraging your network while you're going through this application cycle as well.
That was actually my next question for you was, how do I go about making those connections with those faculty members at the schools that I'm applying to prior to actually being accepted to those programs?
Absolutely smart. So it is very competitive these days. It's very, very competitive. Honestly, I probably should not have gotten into a PhD program, which I maybe shouldn't be admitting
On camera.
on camera here. Okay. But you can reach out to them in advance. One of the things that I did in advance was I emailed people and I asked what I could do to make myself more competitive for their program. You're not going to get a ton of responses for that because it is a very broad question, and most professors will look at that and be like, I'm exhausted. What you can do is you can look at professors, look at what their recent research is. Is it something that you're excited about and interested in? You can contact them. If there's a study that they're currently doing or that they've been publishing, you can contact them about that and see like where they are in the process of that research. So, for example, we have a professor here, Dr. Michelle Dolphin. She's been on a tear lately with some really interesting research on cultural tightness and looseness. She's done a lot of research in other areas in the past. She's been in negotiation, she's been in gender, she's done a lot of work. Her stream right now, a lot of it is around tightness and looseness. Not all of it, she stays active in other areas. But that's something where if you were kind of watching that emerge and seeing all of the work that she's been doing in this area on cultural tightness, looseness, you could reach out to her about that and kind of get a sense of where she is and where she's going and then sculpt that into your narrative. It shows interest, right? It shows that you're engaged, it shows that you're paying attention to where they are. When you are emailing faculty members, when you are emailing anybody for a favor, what you want to do is you want to keep your email something that is easy to respond to. Because what you're doing is you're emailing people who don't have a lot of spare time to begin with and to whom you are a stranger. And when you are a stranger, depending upon the position that somebody else is in, they may not have a lot of time that they want to give to you. And it's not personal, it's just they're trying to figure out where to put their time, and this is a stranger. So if you ask those very broad questions, you may not get an answer, you may not get much of an answer, because it's just hard for somebody to carve out the time for that. But if you ask narrow questions, if you ask specific questions, if you show interest and you make it easy for them to respond succinctly and with less effort, then you're going to be able to help engage faculty members without taking a lot of their time. So that's one of those things to do when you kind of start to pitch yourself, is to think about how do you make contact, engage, without putting extra work on somebody else's plate. And that can kind of be a balancing act and a challenge.
No, thank you so much for the information. I really feel like I'm more ready than I was before to get into this program. I feel confident about the information you gave me in order to pursue this doctoral degree. So thank you so much for that. I really feel like I have the necessary tools in order to make myself eligible for a program.
Excellent. So before you head out today, because I do think we've covered most of what you wanted to hear, remember that when you're constructing your application for a PhD program and your experiences, the first thing you're going to want to do is get that research experience, right? You're getting the right experiences that you need. Research experience, strong GPA, high GRE scores. The second thing that you're doing is framing up your narrative in a way that will be appealing. You're finding the professors you want to work with, you're targeting them in your essay, and you're connecting with them and your experiences to them. You're making your passion for research clear. You're helping yourself and your narrative stand out. And you're finding these professors, by the way, who are about to select or most likely to select PhD students. Meanwhile, you're working with the professors that you do know to give you tips on who to look for and how to connect with them. All right, so you got the networking component, you got the narrative component, you got the experience component, and don't even worry about this because we got this, okay?
Thank you.
All
I really
right.
appreciate you having me in my corner.
Such a pleasure, always. That's where I live, in corners. Actually, a little more questionable now that I've said that out loud.
Right?
All right, have a great day. All right, I'll see you soon.